Welcome, and thanks for stopping by. Whether you're new to the channel or have been here before, if you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Today we're going to take a look at another watch from the Singaporean micro brand Zelos. Many people, when they think of Zelos, think of big, bold watches. The one we're going to look at today is the Mako, and this specifically is the Mako version 3. This one, as we'll see here, is a significant departure from what many think of, but it is still very much a signature Zelos type piece. Additionally, this is one of the most widely popular offerings that they have available, and it's with good reason. So with that, let's go ahead and dive right into this. Here we have 4 colorways, and we'll be going through each of them, but let's start with some of the basic specs. This watch is a 40mm case, so it's a nice common size that tends to be pretty versatile, and for reasons we'll get into here, I think this is even more versatile than many 40mm cases. So don't rule this one out simply because you have too large or too small of a wrist for this size. This one has 20mm lugs, and this is an aftermarket strap, but we'll look at the factory straps here in a moment. One of the nice things, this has 46mm lug to lug, so a nice short lug. And then for overall thickness, this comes in at roughly 11.5mm without the crystal, and then with that nice high dome crystal, you're coming in right around 14.25. So definitely not one of the thinnest pieces, but also not one of the thickest. And with the thin case and bezel here, it still goes nicely under a shirt cuff, and I think is a pretty versatile watch overall. This particular model features the Miyota 9015 for the movement, and each of these variations, and we'll look at them further, has a combination of Superluminova C3 and BGW9 for the loom, and it's going to be full loom in all the different places. Each one, again, will be different, but they have on the markers, the hands, the chapter ring, as well as the bezel. The case on each of the ones we're going to look at today is 316L stainless steel, and there is more exciting news on that. And as far as accessories, this is typical Zelos offering here, where they come with, the version 3, unlike some of the prior versions in the stainless, does not come with a bracelet. It instead comes with your tropic rubber strap, which is pictured. And as far as the packaging, you get the nice Zelos slipcover. You get an acacia wood box with magnetic closure. And you get a nice faux leather watch roll. This has 4 slots in it. You also get a Horween leather strap. This one does not come with a branded buckle on the Horween, but it does have quick detach spring bars. Very nice touch there. And then you also get your very fancy warranty card. It is only a 1-year warranty, but Zelos does have fantastic customer service, so I wouldn't let that scare you away. Looking at the rubber strap, it's a very supple style, traditional vintage tropic strap. This is genuine vulcanized rubber, so this is not silicone, doesn't tend to attract dust. Very nice, supple rib texturing here. Some people say that it ratchets because of that rib texture, ratchets out of the closures, and it does have double keepers on this. I personally have never experienced that issue. This one does come with the nice Zelos custom logoed buckle here, and you can interchange this. It is just a traditional spring bar style, so you can pop that off and move it around. So you do get one that's the custom on there, and then one that's traditional with the Horween. So with the specs out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look into some of these specific colorways. So this first one is the Midnight Blue. And one thing I do want to point out right off the bat is many of you may be watching this or looking at the Zelos website and thinking, great, another video for sold out Zelos pieces. The reason why this is so timely to look at this one is there is actually a new batch of these that are coming out, and we'll talk about that more towards the end of the video. It's extremely exciting news. There are some updates and changes that are coming. It's still going to be a V3, but there are some minor updates, new colorways, new materials that will be coming out, so we'll get into that more. This Midnight Blue is quite an attractive watch here. The one thing that I'm personally not crazy about is this does have a ceramic blue bezel insert. Depending on the light, it can take a little bit of a greenish hue to it, and I don't think matches perfectly with the bezel, or with the dial rather. But in most lighting, I think it's does tend to blend well. It's a very traditional, classic design, has kind of a nautical touch to it with the combination of the blue and the yellow hand for the accents. Next up, this one is what's referred to as the Ice. This is actually kind of a funny one here. I did not order this watch. This was one that I actually ordered, one that we'll be looking at in a moment, the Zelos Frost, and due to a dealer mix-up, by mistake, I received this Ice version. It wasn't one that, from pictures, I thought it was a little bit too bold for my liking, particularly with the orange accents, and I wasn't real sure about that blue dial. But as it turns out, I got it. I informed the dealer about the mix-up and was given the option to purchase this one and additionally get the Frost. And since this was one that was already a sold-out model, this was the last that the dealer had, I ended up really liking it in person and decided to go ahead and pick this up too, which is part of why I have so many Makos here. I even had another one that is the teal version, which isn't pictured. I traded that for another watch. It was a very, very gorgeous dial, and it's, for many people, their favorite. For me personally, I wasn't as crazy about the stainless bezel insert on the teal version, and then additionally, it had a little bit too light for my liking for the chapter ring with the teal, and then same thing for the date wheel. But we'll talk about that a little more once we get to the upcoming models. So this one, it's really hard to pick it up in picture or on video, but this one, the blue really is stunning. It just looks like a crystal clear blue water. Both of these two models do have that nice, gorgeous guilloche whirlpool pattern on the dials. Very attractive in person, loves to play with the light. A lot of depth, a lot of variety. Looks like it has bubbles almost through it with the way that texture goes. Really nice pieces. Next up here, this one is a Meteorite, and this is probably my personal favorite of the Mako lineup. This one is a double Meteorite, and you can see it's a nice gray. Again, this is hard to get the full depth on picture, but there's those striations all through. It has a lot of playfulness to it. Very attractive. And then finally, we'll be looking at this Frost version. This Frost, I love that baby blue accent for the text as well as for the second hand. Nice black and white theme. And with this one, this is a full lume dial as well, and we'll see that in a lume shot. So let's talk about some of the watch overall. This is obviously a traditional dive style watch. It has 120 click bezel. Nice tactile click to it. Very satisfying. Easy to turn. No play. Everything lines up great. Just an excellent overall bezel action. No movement there. Virtually no play. Just settles real nicely into those grooves. This particular one, in part of the lume that we'll see for difference, this one has lume chapter ring, but this is only the numbers. This is, I would say, the most subtle. So it has C3 everywhere, except the second hand has BGW9, and then BGW9 on the numbers. This one, in my opinion, while still extremely impressive and very usable, it's actually one of the most legible at night because of its simplicity. The chapter ring is an effect that you mainly notice if you charge it up with a UV light and are looking around the home. In regular usage, you won't notice it too much. This Frost, this one has, and you'll see in the lume shot, both the chapter ring and the bezel, when they first are charged up, do take on an orange glow to them, though they quickly settle down and have more of a greenish yellow, though it still does differ from the C3 that's on the markers. This is one of my favorite for lume. This one has a full BGW9, and I didn't say with this one that is a full lume chapter ring on the Ice as well. This one has BGW9 for the chapter ring, and then the second hand, so same across the board there. This one has C3 in the bezel, and this is, again, a double Meteorite bezel, so this has an acrylic, or an enamel rather, across the top to protect this so you don't get the corrosion with that. And this one looks really neat with having the C3 and then having that full blue ring around it. And these two with the full lume rings, you absolutely do notice those in regular usage. They charge up easily and well, and they stay glowing brightly. The Midnight just doesn't have quite enough lume with only having the text to really be visible in usage. And then this one just glows simply like a torch. All of these do have the a lumed crown as well. Very nice screw down crown, good size, easy to use. And with that glow, it is very visible. If you've seen the Hammerhead review, that one also has a lume crown. This one's still very bright, though that Hammerhead just blows everything away with how bright it is. These have different bezel inserts. This one you can see is a black ceramic. This one we just talked about with Meteorite and enamel. This one is stainless steel with the lume text, and then this one is a blue ceramic. So there's a whole heck of a lot of variety that's available in the current offerings. There are two more that aren't pictured. I already made reference to the teal, and there was also an antique green. Those were the 6 Mako V3s that were available in stainless steel. As far as price points, these came in at launch. They were $369, and it was $449 after the launch pricing expired, though most of them were already sold out at that time. As I mentioned, these ones did not come with a stainless steel bracelet, but there was a very nice bracelet available, and it was only $49 for that, so roughly 50 bucks. Overall, just a great value. So let's look at some of the intricacies of this particular watch and what makes this a really neat and versatile piece. So this is on my 6.5 inch wrist, and you can see it definitely fills out the wrist. The short lug to lug makes it fit very nicely on there. Definitely have plenty of wiggle room so it can accommodate smaller wrist. But one of the things that I think makes this so versatile is it is both small and, in my opinion, large wrist friendly. Despite being 40 millimeters, many people with larger wrist typically think that they need 42, 44, and of course some of that's going to be preference based. But despite the fact that it has a relatively small case, this benefits from having a fairly thin bezel. It doesn't have any metal ring separating, so the crystal goes right up to the bezel. And then on top of that, this has a very large dial, and then with that chapter ring, that adds to the overall depth as well. So this tends to have a lot of wrist presence. I've seen plenty of people with 8-inch and larger wrist that are happily wearing these, and I've seen people down to 6-inch wrists that are happily wearing these. So this really, I titled this video the Goldilocks watch, and I really do think that for most people, this is just a right size. It's small enough that you can get away with dress attire or small wrist. It's large enough that even if you have large wrist or you're looking for more casual wear or a little more wrist presence, you have that covered as well. One of my favorite features of this, it does have a sapphire double dome crystal. It is inner AR coated. And getting this look at the angle here, it always reminds me of that game, if you have ever played or are familiar with Trouble, the Pop-O-Matic bubble, where you pushed on that and it had the dice that popped up and down. Looking at this from an angle, it has that same kind of playfulness, and it really does have, if you look at it from straight the side, it doesn't look that high, but as you roll around, you get virtually no distortion whatsoever, which is really nice. So you have this box edge, and you can pick up just a little bit there, but it's nothing like a Horizons V2, where you have a lot of edge distortion, which is fun in its own right. But this one, for just a basic user watch, is fantastic. You can see it from virtually any angle with ease. But I love watching, especially with these color accented second hands, I love watching them at an angle. Just click around on that dial. Nice smooth sweep on this high beat 90-15 movement. Really great effect. As far as for accents, with this lax in bold design, it makes up for in classic lines. Great wrist feel, very comfortable, nice gently sloped lugs. And just the accents on this, you have polished touches here, nice chamfered edge all around, very clean brushed finish on most of the surfaces. It has just enough to make it alluring and give it enough pop without being too flashy, and with having good wear resistance for being a sport style watch. Looking over on the crown side, you can see this flares out along the case, and this is a really neat feature where this is your crown guard. So instead of having traditional crown guards, you have nice easy access because you're exposed here, so no traditional crown guards. but with having this case that flares out here, that acts as a crown guard, and on top of that, it just gives just a little more visual impact and effect. The lugs, you might have noticed, are relatively straight, so they don't contour around the case, which means that for many people, if you put on a traditional strap, you get that gap along the sides that you're accustomed to. This one is really made to wear extremely well for straps, and you just have a nice uniform gap in there. Personally, I think this looks fantastic with straps, and there's, of course, the factory strap. Here is just looking at a nice canvas strap option, which I love this with the blue. Really makes it pop a lot better than with the factory black rubber. I personally am not as crazy about running a bracelet when it has this interface, while the Zelos bracelet, and I don't have one here to show you, the Zelos bracelet end links do fit perfectly. I personally think it's a little bit of a cleaner integration when you're running a bracelet if it is a curved lug and just butts to the case, but they did a great job with it. That's just a preference thing there, and I do think this wears a lot better with straps with this. So it's the trade-off of which do you prefer, and is that something that bothers you? But overall, it's no quality concern and very nice piece. So flipping over to the case back, this is one of the common complaints that I've heard about this lineup. This particular one has the milled case back, and the edges are definitely sharp. You can see that I left the factory sticker on the back here. Really neat for the shark touch, but it does have sharp feel to the edges, and you can feel it on the end of the case back too. That being said, personally for me, I've run it without the factory sticker, and I've run it with the factory sticker. I think it's a non-issue. I don't notice it on wrist at all, but I know a lot of reviewers mention this, so it is something that I wanted to point out, and we'll talk about that more towards the end because that is one of the changes that is coming with the latest batch. The Meteorite bezel, one of the things that I noticed with this, for having all of these different ones, you can see the bezel on the Meteorite has a different contour to it, and it is actually taller as well. And that has a few things for it. This doesn't have quite as much purchase, still easy to turn. This one, very, very easy to grab onto and get purchase on. Additionally, you can tell this one kind of slopes away, whereas this is pretty much dead flat around. If you notice with the crystal, you can see while it has the same crystal, this one visually looks like it's a taller crystal, and it looks a little more thin from the side profile because of that difference in the bezel contour there. So that was just one of the things that I wanted to mention as far as the different lineups, because there is going to be another Meteorite one that's coming. So there's something to be aware of. I assume that that's going to be the same on the current offerings as well. Not a preference one way or the other, just something that I thought was interesting to point out. This, with having the ceramic insert, I suspect that by the time that they inserted the Meteorite, as well as put that enamel coating on there, they needed probably a little more thickness to fit all of that in. And I suspect that that's probably why this particular model has a taller bezel than the traditional ceramic ones. For anyone who's not familiar with the Miyota 9015 movement, it is a fantastic movement in my opinion. Overall, this is made by Citizen. It's very reliable. It's a high beat movement, so you get a nice clean sweep. It is, however, a unidirectional movement, meaning that the rotor will spin in both directions, but it only winds in the clockwise direction, looking at it from the face. What that means is you can tend to get what's referred to as, a lot of people refer to as fast spin, and you can get a little bit of a noisy movement. Can't really pick it up too much on camera there. I have found this varies from piece to piece. This Meteorite one happens to spin a little bit faster. The Tia one that I had previously spun the fastest of any of them, and you could really tell that it was a little bit of a looser rotor. Didn't have any impact on function, and realistically, in use, I never noticed it unless I was specifically listening and looking for it. So it's definitely not something that I would steer away from this movement. In fact, I have a lot of the 9015s in my collection, and they're, I think, a great movement, relatively low cost, so if you ever have replacement issues, they're readily available, and just a good all-around piece. So one of the reasons why this video was so timely is in the next month or so, this is being recorded in early August of 2020, in the next month or so, there is going to be a release of a new batch of V3s. And with that, I'm going to pop some pictures up on the screen. But one of the things that you'll notice is there's now going to be another batch of the stainless steels, fantastic colorways. One of them that's coming is the teal with now a black bezel insert, and it also has a dark chapter ring. Personally, I like that much better, and I'm planning on picking one of those up to have another Mako teal in my collection. There are 3 that are not yet pictured that are going to be coming out. There's going to be a gunmetal meteorite, so that should be relatively similar to the meteorite that we looked at here, but it's going to have, I suspect, a little bit of a darker hue to that. That should be really neat. I've never seen a gunmetal meteorite from Zelos, so that will be very cool. There's also going to be a bronze meteorite version, and there's going to be a green bronze version. And with that, that's something that has not yet been available. It was on previous versions of the Mako, but has not yet been available on the V3, and that is going to be bronze pieces. There are now going to be bronze Makos that are coming available as well. I'm probably going to end up getting another 4 or 6 of these. Why do I have so many of these Makos? You might wonder. The variety of these between the looms, the colorways, all those pieces, in addition to just being fantastic watches, every piece that you wear feels like a completely different watch. So despite the fact that it fundamentally is the same model, it really just has a unique feel to it. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the loom. As we've talked about here, from left to right, we have the same thing that was pictured previously. We have the blue, which is the midnight blue. We have the ice, the meteorite, and then the frost. And with those, you can really see how each of these stands out, where they all have more or less the same basic colorway, same mix with them, but each of them really does present differently with the loom. And that's just some of the touches that make this so nice, and why it's a piece that I really don't mind having multiple of in the collection. So whether you're a fan of stainless steel or you're a fan of bronze, there's really something for everyone. So now let's get back into some of the differences as to what we can expect, because I made references throughout this video to some of the changes that are going to be occurring for the upcoming batch. So in addition to now offering stainless steel and bronze, the stainless steel is going to come standard with the bracelet. And with the bracelet, there's going to be an all-new clasp that is featured, and that has a quick adjust attachment on it as well. It's very Christopher Ward-esque. If you've seen anything about the Thresher, then you're already familiar with that. That's the Zelos Thresher. It's a new model. It's the same clasp, except being on a 22 millimeter bracelet, it's on a 20 millimeter bracelet. Additionally, another change that is coming is the case back is now going to be stamped. So that Zelos El Shantang always listens to the feedback from his customers. So fundamentally, it's still just going to be the V3, which I really don't think there are many, if any, changes that are needed to the V3. I'm not sure what else could be improved, but that is going to be addressed. So it'll be the same case back, but now it's going to be a stamped piece instead of a milled piece. So some nice incremental changes that are coming, and then of course the all new colorways and the bronze pieces. So there's a lot of exciting things going on in the Mako lineup. I personally am very much counting down the days to order those. There are going to be 3 yet to be announced limited edition pieces as well. One of those has already been pictured in renderings, and that is a Stitches and Buckles is a dealer. That one is going to be what's referred to as the Terra, which is actually a Mako based, except it does not have the date wheel on that. And that piece is available for pre-order right now. It has a sodalite dial to it. Really neat dial. If you're not familiar with it, I encourage you to look that up, and I'll include a link in the description if you're interested in pre-ordering. The other 2 have not yet been announced. They're just limited editions with new special dials. So I'm very excited to see what that brings. I hope this video has been helpful, and I encourage you to look further into the Mako. Thanks.